You are gonna fall out of there. You're like Jabba the Hutt.
Hey everybody, I'm out on a boot slog on the City Stream Forest Road in Woodford, Vermont, and I'm trying a different camera today, so we'll see how this goes. My phone battery just doesn't last in the cold. It's cold today, so I'm hoping this battery has more juice. Anyway, I started out the day listening to a lecture by the mathematician Julian Barber, who's come up with a new model of space-time that doesn't include time. He thinks that mathematically, time is unnecessary, and he's worked out some equations that obviates it. So, what does the world look like without time? And one of the things that he keeps mentioning in this lecture is inertial reference frames. And inertia is something I think a lot about, as are reference frames, that we see the world and experience the world through particular frames that reference our past. So our brain has accumulated this huge body of learning. And when I say body, I say that with double meaning, because much of our memory is embodied. It's not just neural circuits, but it's also deeply integrated into our body map. So we have a reference of the past, and then we run simulations using that past to predict what the future is going to hold, even if that future is the next step. So we move into the present using a predictive model based on or referencing the past. Okay, so inertia, a lot of people use that word, but they don't really know what it means. The word inertia in Latin is a compound of the prefix in, which means without or not, like infamous, and ars, which means art. And if you look at the meaning of art, it means skill, it means ability. So inertia is the state of being without art, or without skill, or without ability. So, me in the studio yesterday, me in the studio today, I'm often sitting inside of a reference frame, viewing the world, experiencing the world, and myself through this reference frame, or what I often call a lens. And through that window, through that experience, I don't feel like doing anything. My brain is trying to tell me that the best option in this circumstance, based on the past, is to do nothing, to be depressed. But I also know that I love doing this. So how do we get out of this inertial reference frame, this place where ability or skill is lacking? And again, if we go back to B.J. Fogg's book, Tiny Habits, ability is one of the axes on his matrix or behavior model. You've got motivation, you've got ability, and you've got a prompt. So if you don't feel that you have the ability, or you actually lack the ability, behavior is not going to take place, even when prompted, even when motivated. But I want to go deeper here. So ability exists inside of a reference frame for the most part, because the vast majority of our inaction or our inertia is mental, experiential, and related to a reference frame, not related to our actual ability, what our body is capable of doing, and what alternate states our mind or identity is capable of having. Different frames, different reference frames to view the world through. Like, I have many different pasts. You could say, wait a minute, you only have one past. Well, yes, but Each of my reference frames selects different data to compile the story of its past. So my main identity, my habitual default identity, is that of inadequacy and therefore depression. But I also have an identity that has a lot of history doing this, that has a ridiculous athletic resume, and who gets outside and does things that most people think are crazy. In fact, I hear that on a regular basis. When I started this run, in the parking lot, there were some people I know, and they're like, "What are you going to do?" And I told them, they're like, "You're nuts. Dude, you are intense." What I'm really is excited to be out here. This is fun. This is not hard work for me. And it doesn't have to be hard work for anyone if they engage gently, as I often talk about. So, back to inertia and these reference frames. If you think of inertia or a gas that is inert, it does not have the ability to interact. It does not have the ability to bond with other gases. It's a closed system. Its outer electron shell is full of electrons. There's no spaces where other atoms or molecules can interact. It's closed itself off. So it's inert. It just floats around and doesn't really do much. And when we are inside of these reference frames, for the most part, they are closed systems. So we can think of the reference frames that we experience the world through, especially when we're in ego or identity mode, self-protective mode. That outer shell is completely closed. There's no room for anything else to get in. We are no longer permeable. We are protecting. We have closed the borders. No more immigration of new information or new perspectives or new anything. I'm just going to stay here and stuck and stew in my own diaper, as my niece used to say when we had to change her diaper. "No, Mommy, I want to keep it." Our identities like to keep their own crap. They want to close that system. They don't want to be changed or altered because they're useful for keeping you out of the game, for keeping you out of the world. Because in that main reference frame, the world is a dangerous place. Why would you want to go out there? We've got this history of falling on our face, being embarrassed, making mistakes, getting laughed at, being rejected. The world is horrible. Why on earth would you want to go out there and try again? No. Let's stay here, closed. So, inertia is about having this closed surface, blocking out any attempts from the outside world to interact with you. Saying, "Nope, I'm good, leave me alone. I'm fine here. I'll just drink it away. I'll just drown my sorrows and watch 20 episodes of Game of Thrones. I'm fine." It's very, very difficult to open ourselves to the outside world and to help when we're in that closed, protective identity frame. Especially if we're trying to do something that's going to change us in a positive way. Identity's like, "Oh, no, don't do that. Don't think that you're ever going to be good enough. They're going to laugh at you anyway. Don't even bother. They're just going to laugh at you for even trying." So it's so hard to receive help when we're in that state. We push it away. And as a coach, this is something that I have to deal with all the time. A lot of my clients want to push me away when they need help the most. Rather than saying, "Hey, I need your help right now," they're like, "Oop, I can't let anybody help me right now. I'm beyond help, and I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to admit what I'm going through right now." Because then they could laugh at me for that. I could expose my frailty. But I've got to keep some sense of dignity, so I can't do that. So we've got to engage in practices that allow us to peek out through these little holes that we puncture in that protective membrane. You can think of these little openings like the many types of channels in our own cell membranes, that we need a way to get nutrition and signaling mechanisms molecules into our cells. We need to keep out the bad guys, let in the good guys. And we also need to get waste products and signaling molecules out of our cells. So we have ion channels and other types of gates that regulate things coming and going. But if our cells close off, they die. They rot in their own waste products, just like holding our breath. We breathe in good, clean air, mountain air, nothing like it. And it's awesome, but if I hold on to it, I quickly use up the oxygen. All these waste products are building up, the results of the cellular metabolism that the oxygen was used for. Now I've got to get rid of those waste products. I can't hold on to that breath. I got to breathe out, or I will die. So, how do we do this? How do we open ourselves up a little bit at a time from the inside? How do we puncture that protective membrane? One of the things that I do is to remind myself of my alternate histories. And one of those histories is this guy. The guy that runs in his boots in the snow, no matter what. And how do I remind myself? I hang up my clothes from yesterday's workout to dry on a clothing rack, and I put it near my desk. And all it takes is for me to look over there at those clothes hanging up to see, I'm not just this guy. I'm not only the guy sitting at my desk looking at the computer totally lost. Like, I have access to all the information in the history of the world pretty much on my computer, and I just stare at the screen. I don't know what to do. I'm blank. There's nothing. There's no possibility for me. But then I look over at those clothes. I say, wait a minute. Those clothes are hanging there because I got out and I ran in the mountains yesterday. That's why they're hanging there. Those clothes are showing me that I'm not just this guy, that I have this other version of myself and many, many more. And here's the evidence. I'm looking at it. Clothes drying because they got sweaty, because somebody engaged in effort, because somebody has the ability to do that kind of thing. Even if the guy sitting here doesn't feel it, that guy has it, and it never fails him. So just by seeing those clothes, it prompts me, using BJ Fogg's language, to then explore my outfit for today. So it's a reminder, it's a little puncture, because inside of the story that my brain is feeding me unconsciously, inside of my ruminations or my lack of interest or my lack of clarity or my lack of anything, I see those clothes and it pokes a hole and says, wait a minute, there's more outside waiting. And there's the evidence, there's the access point, there's the proof. And then I go through the process that I've explained many times of exploring clothing until I find my outfit. And then when I get home, go back to the studio, hang it up. And it's there as a reminder of who I am, what I'm capable of, and the long history of being this guy, in addition to the other histories that don't often include my positive experiences or states. So if you're stuck in a state of inertia, put some kind of proof around you that you have multiple histories and not just the cherry-picked negative history that's got you stuck, but you've also got these long storied histories of being successful and being engaged. And just put it there so that when you look at it, it's like, okay. It's like your superhero outfit in the case. Like in all superhero movies, they've got their outfit in some case. Well, the clothing rack is my superhero outfit case. When I look at it, I'm reminded that I'm also a superhero. For me, at least. All right. Here we go. Big climb ahead. See ya. my heating unit 12 feet up in the air. I've got to replace the pressure pump. We'll see if this one works. Then I can finally have heat in here.